Okay, so here I'm going to show you how to have produced the method that was requested in the lesson notes. The method which obtains an array list of integers and returns the count of integers on the list that are positive single-digit numbers. Since all we really care about is the method, I've already set up with the import statements and the general class definition that will enclose it. You can pause this video if you want to look at those parts of the code. Here I will just continue with the method. So we are returning a count, so we're returning an integer. We didn't specify what to call the method, so you can call it whatever you want. I'll call it count singles. It receives an array list. And being a template class, you must specify what is contained on the array list. And then we have to give it a variable name. So that is the definition of our function. Now, the direction said to use an iterator. So we are going to need to have an iterator defined and then use the iterator method of the ArrayList class in order to create the iterator that we're using. So we will define the iterator that we wish to use and use the assignment operator to set it. So we'll use the ArrayList object that we received and the iterator function to produce the iterator. So now we have the iterator that we're using. Now we also need our count and set it equal to 0 initially. All right, so now we should have what we need. So let's just think a little bit about what we're going to be doing before we actually code. So we have the iterator, so we want to continue through the iterator so long as there are items to receive. So there's a has next method of the iterator, which tells us yes is an object, still remaining on the iterator. And then when we get it, we need to put that value we're receiving into a variable. Test if that value is greater than 0 and less than 10. Therefore, that puts it in the range of 1 to 9. And if that's true, increment the count. So that gives us a general idea for what we're doing. So we can't use a for loop. We don't know how many items are on the list. Well, technically we do by using the size method of the list, but we're not doing that. The instruction said to use an iterator. So the iterator object does not tell us how many there are. So we're simply going while the iterator object that we have, its has next method returns a true. So then what are we doing inside that loop? We're receiving a value. So we have to put the value into a variable. And we are receiving from the iterator object the next value on the list. Since the list is integers, it knows the next value is an integer, so it puts it appropriately into an integer variable. So then we have to compare the value we received to make sure it's in the appropriate range. So if the value is greater than 0 and the value is less than 10, both must be true for it to be between 1 and 9. If that is true, we simply increment our count. And that's the end of our loop. That's all we need to do. So long as there is a value to read on the list, we read the value using the next method, and we compare the value to be within the range that we're considering. So that's fine. Our loop is done. Since we're incrementing the count during the loop, when the loop is finished, we have the count of the items on the list that are single digits. So all we have to do then is simply return the value of our variable count, and that's the method.